So actually, let's have a look at so let's look at the old timer. So this is a guy who he was an old battler against these fake Trinitarians until Calvin guys got him. He died in Switzerland. It looks like he had his own version of the Trinity. That's not a good idea. See, he published a work on astrology, so that's a bit of a problem. But the thing about it is, it doesn't matter. Yes, you see what it says here. Some of Servetus' letters to Calvin fell into the hands of some French guy, and he exposed Servetus to the Inquisitor in France. The Servetus and his princes were seized. During the trial, Servetus escaped, and the Catholic authorities had to be content with burning him in effigy. They wouldn't just let the guy go. I mean, Jesus said, love your enemies. He didn't say burn them. But then he says he appeared in Geneva and was not recognized, arrested, and tried for heresy. He says Calvin played a prominent part in the trial and pressed for execution. Well, look at that. So John Calvin wanted the guy executed because he disagreed with his Trinity. That's pretty amazing to think that you have you have these Trinitarians, and you'd think that they're all friendly, but I mean, look at Calvin. He wants the guy executed, and he said here, and pressed for execution, although by beheading rather than by fire. So, oh, that's nice. Jesus said, love your enemies. Calvin said, behead him. So you have to wonder, this John Calvin, is he following the gospel of Jesus or the teachings of Jesus, not love your enemy, or someone else? You have to ask yourself, if you had to choose between Jesus and Satan, then Jesus obviously says love your enemy. So what would Satan say? Would Satan say love your enemy as well, or would he say behead him? Maybe Satan would say, well, Satan might say fire, but it does say in Revelation that they will be beheaded. So what's happened to the beast actually wants them beheaded rather than burned. So Calvin's actually closer to the beast. But of course, because what it says, Servetus was found guilty of heresy. Okay, so that should be a fine of £100 or something, or £50. Mainly on his use of the Trinity. Who cares? And baptism, there's nothing wrong with that. So what was the punishment? He disagreed with the Trinity and baptism, and the punishment from these guys was Servetus was burned alive. That's nice. So these lovely Christians, they burned Servetus alive just because he disagreed with them. That's amazing. It says his execution produced a Protestant controversy on imposing the death penalty for heresy. And he says drew severe criticism upon John Calvin. I'm not surprised. I mean, love your enemies isn't you have their head cut off, isn't it? But anyway, it looks like so far no one's interested, but that's to be expected. Because that's what you find is that the Trinitarians are enjoying their life so much that all they have to do is just sit at home and just have fun. No point defending your belief, since what difference is it going to make? I mean, they'll go home, so do their job. Do their job first, go home, and then you go to church on Sunday, and then you just go to church for 2 hours, and then it's back home, watch TV. And a lot of these guys probably don't even realize they even believe in the Trinity, but because they go to a church that does believe in it, then just by association, you could say that they're guilty by association. That since the church they go to believes in it, then that means they believe in it as well. And of course, they'll all say that, we wouldn't have burned Servetus, we would have just had tea with him and just said everything's fine, but just keep your belief to yourself. Or if you don't want to, then we'll still leave you alone like Jesus did anyway. As far as I know, Jesus never had any Pharisees burned. That's how it goes. These Trinitarians. Yeah, so this one I think I've read this one before. Yeah, of course he was, because he went against the Trinitarians, isn't it? I mean, how dare you say the Trinity is false? You're required to say the Trinity is true if you want to live. Of course, now it's different because you have all these atheists who have taken over. But this is the thing: You have some fake Christian guys in control. They're actually going to kill you harder than the atheists would, which is interesting. Okay, I think this is the one I actually read before, because this guy goes into details about it. It's interesting. It says that by the time Servetus was put on trial and executed, Calvin had known him for 19 years. So he obviously knew about the guy for a long time. It seems that Calvin was in Paris. Yes, you know what it says here? At the time of Calvin's speech, Servetus had already been branded a heretic by both Protestants and Catholics for his anti-Trinitarian views. Yeah, so also Paul had anti-Trinitarian views. So what? They would have burned him as well, wouldn't they? Because you saw what was written before, that Paul disagrees with the Athanasian Creed. So he would have, Apostle Paul would have been in trouble, because you'd have read that creed and said, no, this is wrong. You have to change this and this and that. It's a great person is Calvin. He asked Calvin to return to Paris. They spoke to each other. It says in 1546, Servetus sent a copy of his newest work to Calvin, and it started a correspondence between them. Servetus wanted to keep the dialogue with Calvin going, so he proposed they meet again, this time in Calvin's adopted home, Geneva. And he says, yeah, this is the one I read. He says, Calvin replied with a warning. He told Servetus that due to his unorthodox views, it would be unsafe for him to come. But it's interesting. It says here, fearing that Servetus was about to disregard his warning and come to Geneva, so Calvin let the leaders in Servetus' hometown know of what he had done. They arrested Servetus, put him on trial, but he escaped. Right. So he grasped him up just because of what he wrote. Okay, that's fine. And I think the way that this guy's written, this guy's trying to be nice to Calvin, but the reality is this reads as if Calvin actually grasped him. Because look, he got put on trial, so what would have happened to him? So despite Calvin's Servetus arrived in Geneva, his arrival was attention grabbing. He would have got some views on YouTube. It says, upon arrival, he showed up at the church where Calvin preached and made a scene during one of Calvin's sermons. Servetus was arrested at his hearing before the magistrates. He tried to say that he was quietly passing through Geneva. Yeah, well, obviously he had some strange views. Thing is, if you got strange views, it doesn't mean that someone is supposed to execute you. I don't know of anyone in the Bible who's executed for a strange view. Yeah, if they do some murder or something, then of course. See, this is interesting. His Servetus was responding by claiming his teaching was nothing more than what the church fathers themselves had taught. Yeah, he could have been right. But if you follow the church fathers, but you don't follow the Orthodox, or what everyone else is doing, you can end up in the fire. That's interesting. This is what these Trinitarians will do to you. Of course, we know what happened. Calvin, writing to his friend William Farrell, said he agreed Servetus deserved death. Disagreeing with him, okay, that's fine. So no, it's no mention of love your enemy. It looks like Calvin doesn't agree with that, so he must disagree with Jesus on that point. And it looks like so far there's no Trinitarians who have much of an interest, but because this is how it is. Yeah, see, this guy's trying to defend Calvin. Problem is, it doesn't matter what kind of heretic he was. It still isn't an excuse to put him in the fire or even to cut his head off, like what Calvin wanted. What? To demonstrate their authority over John Calvin's. But he was at the trial. While Calvin was involved with Servetus' trial and was a witness, he did not play a key role in his sentencing. Well, yes, he said he wanted him beheaded. So, see, this guy is a little. See, this guy's trying to be a bit clever in defending Calvin, but no. He says, see if he even says it. Yeah, see, this guy's clever. He doesn't. Calvin would not have Servetus executed. Huh? Yes, this guy's trying to. I don't know if he's put the part in where. All right, here you go. Calvin intervened and asked that Servetus not be burned, but rather be more humanely executed by the sword. Yeah, for not believing in the Trinity, right? So someone can be humanely executed by a sword, right? And that'd be interesting. Well, I wouldn't want to see that. You could just ask one of one of those Muslim fighters, isn't it? And ask them when they execute someone for insulting their prophet, is it painful for the person or not? If being executed by a sword is painful, then well, I don't think it's humane. Because you're chopping the person up. Chopping someone up is not humane. I think so. You can tell this guy's trying his best to help Calvin, but it's just not going to work. You can tell what his name is, just called Theo. All I can say is he tried his best.